War Eagle Auburn fans, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down and we talk about what's going on in the world on the Auburn family spectrum. We're always heavy on the sports here on this channel, but if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching live or on the replay. We'll take you however we can get you. We appreciate you just giving us a few minutes of your time to talk about all things Auburn. On today's live stream, a very short one, a very impromptu one. We didn't schedule this, we didn't plan this. Like to do these from time to time, especially when there's something special going on. Auburn basketball just took on Nebraska in the Holiday Hoopsgiving Classic here in Atlanta, Georgia. I was able to attend, and what a game it was. What an experience it was. So I wanted to pop on here for just a minute and then share some of what I experienced, maybe answer some of your questions, comments, your initial reactions as well. All about reacting, don't really have stats in front of me, things like that. And I also know that it's very prevalent on our mind what we just went through with the news of Bruce Pearl and NCAA investigation being wrapped up. That's probably going to be pertinent on your minds. We can talk some about that, but we'll focus more on that on our Monday night live streams. This one, I want to talk about this game, what we saw, what we experienced, and wow, what an experience it was. Auburn showed out in a huge, huge way. 99 points, one shy of 100 points in the Holiday Hoopsgiving Classic, which it's kind of weird to say. It's kind of disappointing because we were so close. And then, but Coach Wes Flanagan called the dogs off and said, hey, not today, not today. We don't have to do that to prove that we are good. But Auburn does get the win over Nebraska. Not a lot of people were expecting Nebraska to put up much of a fight. However, I was fairly impressed with what I saw out of them in some areas, and others I wasn't. But it was a fun game. It was really never boring or anything like that. So that's just kind of like initial quick thoughts about it. I do want to remind you, as you do come into the stream, if you can, please make sure you smash that like button. It does help the stream out. Lets other Auburn fans know where we are, who we are, maybe if they want to join our little family within the Auburn family. And post right now in the comments where you're watching from. City, state, international with a War Eagle. Love to know who's here. You can even share this out on social media if you'd like to let some people know that we're going live. So I do want to give a shout out to start off this live stream to the Atlanta Auburn Club. Most of you know this, that the Alumni Association has little branches all over the world, really, all over the United States, but definitely all over the world with, different clubs. The Atlanta Auburn Club is one of the biggest, most active ones. I live outside of Atlanta myself, so I don't get as many opportunities to do things with them, but this was one of them. They put up and headed up a Tiger Walk here in Atlanta right before the game. I had some people asking me about this because we did live stream it if you want to go watch it. Very short. Obviously, it's a 20 roster team, something like that, and only a handful of coaches. So you're obviously going to, not have as lengthy of a Tiger Walk experience, but it still was nonetheless special. A great crowd showed up. They got the word out. We probably had a couple hundred people, maybe, in my estimation, which is probably very poor. Show up inside the CNN, actually, was it the CNN Center? Yes, it was the CNN Center. And in the corridor there, they were coming down from their hotel room, their hotel area, and led them into State Farm Arena down here. And it was an awesome experience. They had banners up and everything like that, obviously shakers, and they did a great job preparing us and getting us all to the same place and getting us there on time. So shout out to the Atlanta Auburn Club for that experience. So make sure you take advantage of those opportunities with your local Auburn clubs if you have the opportunity to. If you're one of the leaders of another Auburn club, take note. Those things work. You should try them. But anyway, so after that special shout out, the arena, I don't know if any of you have ever been to State Farm Arena. I haven't. This is my first time. It was a great arena. They've taken the similar model to the Mercedes-Benz and made the food prices cheaper, not cheap, but cheaper, and you can have refillable soft drinks. Huge plus. So the overall experience of the stadium, I like this kind of thing. It's local. Atlanta's a big city, it can draw people in. So I hope they continue doing this, and maybe they'll get Auburn to come back, and maybe they'll even get a little bit of extra competition, because when you look up and down this competition board, Auburn versus Nebraska, the next game that's going on, I think maybe even right now, Clemson versus Drake, probably a decent matchup. But then there's Tennessee versus Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky's it's okay program, but this is definitely not a premier event yet because they're not drawing in some of the bigger names outside of the SEC, outside of the Southeast in general. So I would like to see it maybe grow a little bit more, because I think it's a great concept. And these showcases, not tournaments, but showcases, kind of give you an opportunity to see some of the other teams if you choose to stay in the arena. I have not, because I've got things to do. Overall, Nebraska was very quick and very good at back cutting, and they kind of exposed us a little bit early on that, especially when we kind of got into a little bit of a lull there at the end of the first half and the start of the second half. Somebody even posted that the worst things ever for any sports team for Auburn is the end of a half and the beginning of that next half, because things weren't going as well. Obviously, it didn't really matter, because basically it was a 30-point lead at one point in the game and bounced back and forth between them. When you get the walk-ons in, you know it was a good game. Typically, sometimes they come in at the end if it was a bad game for you, but typically when you see the walk-ons from your team, that's a pretty good sign right there that you had a great game. I want to give a shout out to Lior Berman. We've been talking about him a lot lately. You know, for a guy that started as a walk-on, for a guy that has slowly but surely earned some time, he goes out there and doesn't just contribute, not just from the three-point line, but he plays great defense. Yeah, he's probably not the biggest specimen, the most athletically gifted guy, but what he gives is in heart and effort, and then just being competent when you're out there in all facets of the game. You see why he's getting not just play time just to give somebody a break, but he was getting significant play time. Now, when Alan Flanagan comes in, we'll see how that changes, right? You know, you never can know how all this thing's going to work out after Alan Flanagan gets back. By the way, he was there, obviously, and he was in his warm-ups, and from all I could tell, he looked to be getting around pretty well, so it looks like we're still on track. More injury stuff. Walker Kessler obviously played today after his leg injury that kept him out most of the last game. Seemed good. There were some moments where it got a little scary. I thought he was going to tweak a little bit more. We'll see how it feels after the game. That's going to be the key thing, is now after a full game, how does he feel after that point? Those leg injuries sometimes, especially in basketball, they can be a bit of a bugger. No Bruce Pearl. You know, a team is much bigger. A team that's successful is much bigger than a coach, bigger than a player, bigger than any part unit being taken away from it. And you see that right here. Now, it could be a case of the talent is so good it doesn't matter who coaches the team, but still, it's a great thing. What a crazy game I just watched, Pate says. It was a crazy game in terms of at the end when Auburn was just having fun out there and just balling. It was like 3 alley-oops in a row or something like that. Devin Cambridge is a human highlight reel. He just is. He's incredible. 98-68. There you go. That's the official final score there. So a 31-point victory for the Tigers was incredible. I have to say that I was anticipating, double-digit win. I wasn't anticipating a 30-point win. I thought especially, Nebraska I thought we'd get out to about 20 points, and then it would kind of teeter back and forth in the low teens to maybe the low 20s for the rest of the game. But it's almost like the talent for Auburn broke Nebraska, and especially when Jabari Smith got going, and then when he's on and then the other players are on with him, it's just like, what do you do? Wendell Green's knocking down threes from the logo. Whether you like that or not, you see why they give him the green light. Jasper is playing great defense. Katie Johnson is just doing Katie Johnson thing. Devin Cambridge is the human highlight. And then Jabari Smith. And we could keep going on and on. Jalen Williams, too, is, again, he continues to be the guy that will never get really spoken of, never get the highlights, but he is a solid rock upon which this team falls back on. And that's a very humble place to be, but it's also a very honorable place to be. And that's why he is probably always has been, but is growing in my favorite player on this team, just because of the way he carries himself and the way he leads this team, even though in some ways he might only be the silent leader. The silent but deadly leader, because don't let him get going. He can shoot the three, he can pass, he can dribble, he can do it all. So yeah, we talked about the alley-oops are great. High flyness. The team was just having fun out there. They seemed to all be in good spirits. I think there's almost a weight off the team after this NCAA investigation is gone, you know? And I even asked, I was talking with some people I was sitting with, you think Bruce Pearl is somewhere in the vicinity? I don't get any indication. I will tell you that when I was walking back to my car, Stephen Pearl was in front of me, and he did dart off into a hotel, so maybe. I doubt it, but it was sad not to have Bruce here in this arena. I had hoped that he would get to experience, because the Auburn family showed out in a big way here in Atlanta. Granted, it's not the biggest distance for Auburn fans to travel, especially those that are in Alabama, and we have a huge contingency here in the Georgia and the Atlanta area. So great showing, great shot. It basically was the poor Nebraska fans. They would ask Nebraska fans, all right, let me hear you. But Nebraska fans, you hear like and then they'd say, all right, Auburn fans, let me hear you, and just, you know, it was incredible. The Auburn family continues to show out for this team and the support after all they've been through, and the team's getting rewarded now. The fans are getting rewarded now, and I hate to kind of set up expectations that could be dashed, but with the investigation being done, the way the team still continues to perform, the way Jabari is performing, it feels like the cap is being let off on something very, very special. There was this pressure cooker happening, and now everybody can relax and just go have fun, because you've got the talent. Do your fundamentals, pass the ball well, play great defense, make you free throws, and then you can go out there and have fun. Shoot the three-pointers. It's a great game overall. I'm trying to think if there's anybody I left out. Wendell Green had a great game, even coming off the bench, and silent. I think he was he almost in the 20s? I know he had 19 points at one point. He may have gotten one more after that. Joe, good to see you. Thanks for being here, War Eagle. But yeah, and I hope you guys in the Booster Club enjoyed some of those little insights, just things, especially before the game I was sharing with you guys. I always like to give you a little bit of an extra experience with that. So I'll take some, if you have any questions or comments, I can take those real quick. Like I said, this was more of an impromptu, very short reaction, just because it's a special event. We don't typically do these after basketball games. But if y'all want them, we can possibly do them. But since this is a special event, we can. A couple reminders. If you haven't, please do check out some of the links in the description, ways you can help support our content. You can become a channel member. You can become a Booster Club member. Both of those starting at $1 a month. Two different things, but they accomplish the same thing, helping us produce this content. And there's TeePublic, there's PayPal, all kinds of ways that you can help support our content. Easiest thing to do, smash that like button right now if you can. You can hear buses. That might even be the Auburn team right there leaving. To be honest with you, in the parking deck I'm sitting in. If you didn't know, there's a big storm rolling through the southeast, and speaking of which, hearts goes out to people in Kentucky. That's terrible stuff they're going through right now. But anyway, great game down here despite the weather. Great experience, great atmosphere, great performance. Team responded. I'm sure Bruce is very happy with what his team has accomplished, even without him. Wes Flanagan filled in as head coach and got his first win as an Auburn head coach, even in an interim status. Stephen Pearl is going to get a chance to do the next game, which I think is really, really cool. Not that he just handed the reins over to Wes, because that makes the most logical sense, right? But he's given Stephen, his son, a chance to do it as well, and in a less stressful environment, probably. Dusty says, Coach Flanagan has one thing Bruce doesn't have, a Holiday Hoopsgiving victory. Well said, well said. He can check that box where Bruce can't. And I think Bruce will show Wes, even though Wes was part of that team, a Final Four, coach situation, and he'll still have the cake on him, so to speak. But yeah, it was Wes did a great job. I didn't see any issues there. He seemed very comfortable in that role, and when you're the basically number 2 guy, you would expect the same out of it. It'll be interesting to watch how Steven does in the next couple of games. Not that I anticipate it to be that much different, but when you've got somebody else calling the shots, it's, some things can just happen a little bit different. The thing, though, is this staff and this roster seem very well put together. So I don't think one person being in the driver's seat, so to speak, is really going to change that much with the team after that. But we'll find out. We'll talk about that after that game happens. in the next couple of days or so. The long layoff is over. We finally got some more basketball after finals. And remember, after this point, we're got a few more non-conference games. It'll be on a somewhat more regular schedule, and then SEC starts at the very end of the month. I'm ready. SEC ain't ready for us, but I'm ready. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to this very short live stream, and I appreciate you guys. Oh, real quick question. Was the coach related to Alan? Yes, Joe. That is Alan Flanagan's father. Yes, that's what you thought there is correct. Wes and Allegan are father and Allegan, and Alan are father and son, which is really cool, right? It's kind of sad that he wasn't able to be the head coach for his son in this game, because that would have been, a cool little dynamic going on there. But probably Alan's at the same time like, thank goodness I didn't have to do that. All right, I'm going to sign off. Thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate you tuning in, even for just a few minutes. Check out some of the links in the description. Smash that like button on the way out. Until I talk to you again, War Eagle.